Hello, everyone. This is Ray Savage with Cambium Networks. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar on cnPilot, our Wi-Fi solutions. Our special guest speaker today is Chetan Habale, who is the Global Product Manager for our cnPilot solutions. The webinar is being recorded and it will be posted to the community later today. But if you do have any questions during the course of the webinar, please feel free to use the question and answer dialog box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll be able to take your questions live. Well, without any further ado, Chetan, we're interested in hearing about what's new with cnPilot.
Thank you, Ray. Everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on your time zone. And thanks for making time to attend this webinar. So what we're planning to do with this webinar is basically go through an overview of what we've done newly on our Cambium Wi-Fi cnPilot product line, and kind of give you a tour of the key features, the value proposition, and that kind of guides us as we go develop these features. But before we jump into the product focus, which is the point of this webinar, I wanted to take a step back and talk about the broader picture. What's happening in the broader world? What's guiding our motivation in developing our product line? Cisco recently released a study that said that this year, people around the world are going to generate 1.4 zettabytes of data through all of the internet messages and everything else that's going on over the web. Frankly, it's hard to comprehend what a zettabyte means. For those of you who are mathematically inclined, that's 10 followed by 21 zeros. It's that many bytes. But another better way to put that in perspective is that will hold 250 billion HD DVDs. Or think of it another way. If you were to set up a camera and record live motion picture in HD quality, you could record 36 million years of data. And just to put 36 million, which is another big number in perspective, the last ice age was just 2.5 million years ago. So a zettabyte is a huge amount of information, and all of us around the world are collectively generating large amount of data. And then when you look where the data originates, nearly 68% of that is now estimated to come from mobile devices. And within that mobile devices, nearly 70%, or to be more precise, 71% of it comes via Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi has become that critical as that first step towards internet communication, where almost all communication is going through Wi-Fi. And that trend is just expected to accelerate. So what else is happening as the demand starts to increase tremendously, as all of us start to rely more and more on Wi-Fi? Well, Wi-Fi has been keeping pace itself with the huge demand. For those of you who can remember what Wi-Fi was 20 years ago at a top speed of 2 megabits per second, we're now hitting 6,900 megabits of raw throughput, theoretical high speed with 802.11ac. And there's more to come with 802.11ax, and more research is being done to increase the spectrum efficiency and overall throughput of Wi-Fi devices. So that's all on the demand and technology side. But there's also something else happening in terms of economics. When you look at small businesses, which generate 33% or more of national GDPs according to the World Bank, most small businesses have no dedicated IT staff. They have no one watching technology, which is their means to an end. And most of them seem to suffer from managing technology transitions. It's hard enough for people like us who are in the technology domain, keeping up with all of the different variations and changes in technology. But it's even more harder if for you technology is a means to an end, and you have to decide whether you need an 802.11ac access point or 11n access point. So we're seeing another trend, which is managed services. Here, there are dedicated service integrators, system integrators, WARs, and others are getting into the business of really acting as the IT shop for this unmanaged IT. So when you take both of these trends, huge demand for data, large, vast and fast advances in Wi-Fi, and the need for someone to come in and manage your business. And as people in the distribution look to grow their own businesses, we see two emerging trends. We see high-speed Wi-Fi and services that are managed from the cloud. Both of them together is what we call cnPilot 2.0. So cnPilot 2.0 is the next step up for Cambium. We're building on our success with our first generation of Wi-Fi access points. And now we're coming out with Wave 2 indoor access points, followed by a huge number of advances in our cloud services, all of it designed for the managed service provider to be able to provide Wi-Fi to a growing segment of the industry that has no dedicated IT staff. 1.0 was all about creating an disruptive value, making it very affordable, making it very easy to operate. We're building on that with 2.0 with more smarts in the cloud, Wave 2 access points, and continuing to build on the foundation of easy to set up and easy to operate. And that's what you're going to see throughout this presentation is how we've taken these drivers and translated them into our product line. But before we do that, if you ever have to think about, where does Cambium fit in the many choices you have in the Wi-Fi market, we see ourselves as being somewhere between two ends. One is, on the one hand, you have well-established Wi-Fi vendors with complex time-grown features. Often they come with expensive licenses. There's no combination of free and paid software. On the other hand, you have good entry-level capabilities with certain vendors, but as soon as you scale, as soon as you have issues, there's no support and performance starts to suffer. So what we're looking to do is fill that gap we think exists in the market, and we're seeing this validated by our customers as our product line and our market share starts to grow. We're seeing that there is a need for an affordable, high-quality Wi-Fi, something that's flexible, that combines free and premium features, and is backed up by a variety of support options, ranging from free field support to paid support. And all of that topped with something that is channel friendly. We sell through the channel, and we're dedicated to ensuring the health of the channel as well. In terms of our portfolio itself, on the access points, which are the foundation of the Wi-Fi network, we've got Wave 1 and Wave 2 indoor access points. We're shortly going to release a wall plate access point in November, and then followed by outdoor access points, the E500, E501S, and the upcoming E502S. And we'll go through a couple of details on these access points. So what you have here is a foundation of good performing, solid access points, both indoor and outdoor, designed not only for different verticals, but also specialized access points for hospitality, like the wall plate AP. And given that no two Wi-Fi networks are the same, we have a variety of controller options with a cloud controller, an on-premise controller, and we just released our newest feature, Autopilot, which is the ability to take an access point and convert that into a controller. So that's all on our enterprise side. But given Cambium's foundation of being a leading provider of solutions to the WISP industry, we've also backed up our enterprise portfolio with a portfolio of indoor home routers that are ISP managed. These are our R200, R200P, and the R190 indoor access points. So with these access points, providing an ability to extend any Cambium wireless backhaul that an ISP provides from outside the home to inside the home, and all of it managed by CN Maestro, we now have the ability to provide indoor home coverage, indoor enterprise coverage, outdoor enterprise coverage, and then extend that to industrial and public Wi-Fi verticals. So with that, we'll pause and see if there are any questions. And one of the things I'd like to encourage you as we go through this presentation is to type your questions in the window. And we'll take a brief pause and answer as many questions as we can. Any questions that we can't get to, we'll post the answers from the community, and of course, share the answers with our attendees as well.
Chetan, we did have one question, and that was really around, if you go back one slide, to the idea of the controller. Can you talk a little bit more about what the difference is between cloud and on-premises? Thank you.
Sure. So with one of the things we've done with our controller is developed it ground up. This is not an old software that's been taken and just posted onto an AWS cloud hosting service. Instead, we've looked at all of the latest advances in technology and built our controller on the same foundation that a ground-up cloud platform is built. Our on-premises controller is a software controller. It is a virtual software. It is downloadable from our website. It can run on any VMware machine. And really, it's pretty much overlaps with the cloud controller, except for one or two differences in terms of provisioning. So once you're trained on one, you can switch to the other. Eventually, will allow you to back up and your on-premises from the cloud as well. So we're tying all of these things together so you don't have to train on different controllers, different versions. Some manufacturers have 2 or 3 different types of controllers in their network. We have one controller that minimizes your training need. Both the cloud and the on-premises controllers are available as a free software. And so you can create a cloud account and manage your devices from the cloud. And for any reason, if the cloud is not a good option for you, you can download our controller. All you need to do is head over to support.cambiumnetworks.com and you'll see a download site there to download your controller. And if you have any questions, you can post any details you need to our forum as well, and we'd be happy to answer your questions.
Great, thanks. We did have one other question on this slide. One of our listeners is taking a look at the enterprise access points. And the question is, what is the difference in the performance increase when you go from 802.11ac wave 1 to 802.11ac wave 2?
Good question. So one of the key differences really is the underlying technology with 802.11ac wave 2 allows you to transmit at a higher speed and allows you to do something called multi-user MIMO, which means you can direct the antenna beam more specifically towards the client. So the first one, the gain in speed, that really comes from the ability to bond a bigger channel. So think of it as a pipe in which water flows. The bigger the pipe, the broader the pipe, the more data the more water can be packed into it for any given square feet. And so you're able to pump more water through that pipe. And so 802.11ac wave 2 allows you to bond channels together. And so you're able to increase the speed just by that one exercise. And especially on indoor where the distances aren't large, where you have a good 5 gigahertz clean spectrum, you stand a higher chance of bonding your channel. And so that's why 802.11 wave 2 AC is 802.11ac wave 2, has started to be more popular. And it's a little bit more future-proof in the sense that it's just arrived in the last 1 year, really mainstream. So it's expected to last for the next 2 to 3 years before the next technology transition makes it kind of mandatory to move on to the next standard. One of the other benefits of Wave 2 is with multi-user MIMO. And really the benefits of experience the benefits of multi-user MIMO, you need at least 3 antennas or more. And you get that with a product like the E600. So with E600, which has 4 transmit antennas and 4 receive antennas, you can direct your beam through standards-based beam direction towards the client, and be able to transmit that towards the client. And so now you get some of the benefits of efficient over-the-air transmission which just by that very act itself reduces your noise levels and the amount of interference you see on the channel. So that again increases your modulation rate, which is one of the, for not so technical explanation is that's the amount of information you can encode. So that allows you to then increase your throughput.
Great, thank you. One other question we had back on the controller. Can you give a quick 1-minute explanation of autopilot, please?
Sure. So we had the cloud, and then we have the on-premises, which are dedicated controllers. And what we then have is we also found a segment of the population that did not want to use the cloud, but also was not very interested in downloading a software and running it on a server. These are typically people who run really small networks. And because one of our value proposition is to make our solution as affordable as possible, autopilot is our answer to Aruba Instant or Ruckus Unleashed. It can support up to 32 access points. There are no licenses required. All you have to do is take the software and set it on autopilot mode, and then one of your own access points, which will still continue to function as an access point, becomes the controller for the network. So now imagine you have up to 10 APs or 15 APs. You don't need another software to manage your network. You can log into this one access point and manage your network. It is designed for the small network. It's not meant to compete with the cloud or the on-premises. It has some limitations just because of how much memory is available on the access point in terms of how much data it can store. But if that's not your key consideration, if you just want to be able to look at the network every once in a while and make sure it's working, autopilot is the perfect answer for that network. And eventually will allow you to take your data out of autopilot and move it into the cloud as well. So that gives you, you're not locked into any one option. You can start small, start on autopilot, and migrate up to cnMaestro.
Great, thanks very much. Let's continue with your slides.
Okay, good. Those are good questions. Thanks for bringing that up. Any further questions? Please post to the community. We'll be happy to answer the questions further. Okay, we'll just go through a quick overview of the ISP Managed Router, and the rest of this presentation will focus on our enterprise access points. Our ISP Managed Home Routers are really designed and really come into play where you are an ISP and you have the need to put these routers in homes and manage and provide your users with an end-to-end working internet. If you're an ISP, all of these routers come with, many of these routers come with an option to have an ATA port, which allows you to provide voice service. One of the other benefits really is cnMaestro management. If you've got Cambium wireless backhaul coming into these routers, and you have these routers inside the house, cnMaestro gives you a complete end-to-end view, both outside the home and inside the home. And now you can do end-to-end troubleshooting between your wireless backhaul link and these home routers, saving money in your operating costs. The ATA port gives you an option to collect voice revenues as well. So overall, most ISPs tend to earn the return on investment in a period of time as low as 6 to 8 months on these routers. From here, we'll transition to our enterprise routers, our access points. We talked about the different verticals we've been in. Since the last 18 months that we launched cnPilot, we've got proven real-world deployments in education. Here in the US, we have our access points deployed at Plymouth School District, Wisconsin, where we're covering the entire school district. In India, we've got these covered in multiple universities. One of the university deployments is as large as 540 students. In hospitality, we got our entry covering resorts, covering hard-to-reach places based on our legacy of wireless backhaul. And we're now extending that to mainstream hospitality deployments. We've got a couple more coming up here in California. And then one of the other things we're seeing a lot of our access points deployed is in events, especially high-capacity events. That picture here is from an event in Croatia with gamers who were looking to play video games, and so they required a high-speed, low-latency connection, and cnPilot indoor and outdoor access points were used at that event. We're also in retail, and we're deployed in multiple retail stores. We have a few upcoming retail deployments in China and Southeast Asia as well. But really, one of the places where we're seeing tremendous growth is in public Wi-Fi. And we're seeing public Wi-Fi growing with our outdoor access points in particular, both in Colombia, in Latin America, and in India. In Colombia, we're part of a nationwide Wi-Fi network, providing over 1,000 free hotspots. And our easy-to-deploy solution, our ability to provide wireless backhaul where it is required, has been one of the biggest winning factors. In India, we're working with organizations like Internet.org, supporting the Express Wi-Fi protocol, and we're bringing affordable internet connection to different parts of India and Africa. And one of our biggest networks this year will grow to over 2,000 access points, covering a large portion of the country that previously was unserved. So that there is a tour of the different kind of verticals. We have a few more examples, but this should give you a kind of view into how flexible the network is, how adaptable it is, and how easy it is to deploy this network. Going back to our enterprise access points itself, we talked about the E400, the E410, and the E600. The E410 is a 2x2 Wave 2 access point. The E600 is a 4x4 Wave 2 access point, as we just went through in that explanation over there. We also released a 120-degree outdoor sector access point with tilt brackets. This one's proved extremely popular, one of our largest ISPs deployments. This one is in Asia, is slated to grow to over 10,000 access points this year, managed by cnMaestro. On top of it, in September, we're planning to introduce our Wave 2 access, our Wave 1 30-degree outdoor sector access point. So come end of September, we will have Wave 2 indoor access points, Wave 1 outdoor omni, outdoor 120-degree sector, and 30-degree sectorized access points. As you'll notice, there are no external antennas to buy. So this really brings down the cost of the solution. These are also extremely lightweight access points because we've integrated the antenna into the box itself. And that really keeps the cost of your mounting hardware low as well. And like all of our E500 series, all of these access points come with the ability to take a PoE out from the access point as well. So you don't need to run two power lines up. You just run one power line up and then daisy chain the power. If, for example, if you wanted to power a secure 802.3 AF powered security camera, or if you wanted to put a wireless backhaul up to these access points, it's really simple. And it's one of the most unique access points out there in the market. And nobody quite has a complete solution based on outdoor and point-to-band backhaul, all managed from the same management system. So that's a very key differentiation that is helping us win a lot of ISP accounts. But if you step back from product features, really our differentiation is built around three fundamental pillars. It's built around frictionless operations, and a very adaptive architecture, and at the end of the day, making sure that we're bringing all of these innovations without raising the sticker price of the entire solution. So what do we mean by frictionless operations? Well, here's an example. Let's take a real world use case. These are the heritage hotels in Kenya. These are next to a national park. Given the distance, one of the ways they bring internet to this place is through point-to-point backhaul, where they've used a pair of PTP 650s. And from there, they go into the distribution access or the last mile access with multi-point, where they've got 6 ePMP APs feeding 115 subscriber modules or CPEs that then provide internet at the end of that connection to different resorts, rooms, and outdoors. And all of these things are managed from cnMaestro. So when you look at this kind of an end-to-end wireless network, and this doesn't have to be necessarily a hotel, it could be an education deployment as well. Cambium brings something unique here. For example, if you look at an education campus deployment, you could deploy the E410s and the E600s, which provide high density, high capacity indoor deployment options. You can cover outdoor areas like the playground and any outside area of an enterprise campus with E500s. And then if you have a need for inter-building connectivity where you just don't have that convenient fiber connection, you can put an ePMP in the mix as well. And then, of course, manage all of them from the same cnMaestro. So here is a real-world snapshot of how that would look. When you have a deployment of this nature, where let's say you have a wireless backhaul feeding a Wi-Fi access point, on Cambium's management controller, you'll be able to see everything in one snapshot. You'll see the wireless backhaul link, you'll see the outdoor access or indoor access point or the home router, and then you'll be able to see all of the clients as well. In addition to this quick end-to-end view, you'll see simple things like, why did a client not connect? For example, we've seen in our experience, 60 to 70% of the reason are client issues, like invalid passwords, invalid pre-shared keys. And so you'll be able to very quickly turn around a customer issue. You'll be able to identify the manufacturers of the clients, so you can troubleshoot quickly. And then also be able to run real-time scans on the access point itself, all handled remotely. And then, if that doesn't solve your problem, you can do a layer 2 deep dive as well. So you can capture layer 2 level packet information for further analysis. So this is what we call frictionless rapid operation. We make our access points very easy to set up. They're very easy to operate, and then once they're up and running, they're very easy to troubleshoot and debug as well. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is our adaptive architecture. One of the things that we see across education, enterprise deployments, hospitality, public Wi-Fi is that no two networks are the same. Often people are looking to replace their legacy access points with our access points, but they don't really want to overhaul change their entire architecture, and we don't require them to change their entire architecture. So with cnMaestro, the most convenient deployment is really within the cloud, where the controller is already hosted and ready to go. All you have to do is take on these APs, turn them on, and register them in the cloud, and you're up and running. So that's what we call the freedom option. The other option is there is a need, and there's a very legitimate need for a traditional controller deployed network, where the controller is managing all of the access points, it's on premises, and there is a need to tunnel the data back into the controller. Well, cnMaestro supports that as well. We support layer 2 over GRE tunneling into cnMaestro from all of our access points. And so what that does is, if you have a traditional controller-based architecture with a firewall, or maybe a packet inspection entity behind that firewall, you don't need to change all of that. You can slot in the cnMaestro controller and the access points into your traditional architecture and get full control of your architecture. And of course, the third option is autopilot. We already briefly talked about autopilot, where you have no cnMaestro either in the cloud or locally, and then you've got an access point becoming a controller. So 3 fundamental ways in which to very flexibly deploy your Wi-Fi network. The other option is, and here for example is a screenshot of autopilot. So here you'll see that you can see all of the network that you want. The AP is the controller, and there are 32 access points, 1,000 clients, and then there are no license fees. And in the future, we'll support things like active and standby modes. So what that does is it protects your investment. You're not locked into it. There are no expensive license fees to buy. There are no APs that are dedicated to this. And then you'll be able to migrate and fall back from autopilot to the cloud and vice versa. So all of these are planned in succeeding quarters. And then, of course, we're tying all of our rapid operations, our adaptive architecture, with affordable quality. Any questions?
Right now, there aren't any online, Chaitan. So I think what folks are looking for is just kind of an application where you can talk about it, and it looks like that's what's next.
That's an excellent segue. So what we want to do here is, rather than bore you with more features, we want to present some of these features in the context of certain verticals. For example, hospitality. I don't really need to preach this anymore, but for those of you who haven't realized it, Wi-Fi is the #1 amenity. And what you're seeing, and I travel around the world, and what I see is, while there are still hotels with bad Wi-Fi coverage, their number is going down really rapidly. When you look at any review, such as on Travelocity or other sites, you find that if the Wi-Fi is bad, it doesn't matter how good the bed is, the hotel gets a very poor rating. And so that is driving a lot of interest in cnPilot for hospitality. And what we have on cnMaestro for free is the ability to host customized portals with the ability to set rate, time, and quota limits, and be able to also support things like logging in with Facebook, logging in with Google, being able to generate vouchers, and take payments through credit cards via PayPal. So by a combination of portals and rate limits and voucher generation, we have all of the basics covered if you wanted to put up a guest network for your hotel, a guest network for your cafe, and be able to take the analytics that come through social login and do your own analysis and marketing. But even as we provide all of these features built into cnMaestro, we are still an open network. We are not going to be building all of the more sophisticated features that many people often require. And for that, we work with a large number of worldwide partners, such as Purple Wi-Fi, Cloud4V, Encapto, and iPass, and many more as well. All of our technology partners will be hosted on our website. And what you see here is that our philosophy of keeping it affordable is not to lock our users into one vendor. We give you built-in options that help you get started. But if you want more advanced and sophisticated options, we partner with worldwide providers of back-end portal services as well. And you'll see that throughout our many other implementations as well. So they're both convenient as well as open. The other case study is the one we just mentioned in Colombia. This is a $4.5 million project with 1,000 free hotspots that the government in Colombia is planning. And all of these use E500 access points. In some cases, they are backhauled by Cambium's point-to-point backhaul, and all of them managed from cnMaestro. We also talked about our work with Internet.org, which is sponsored by Facebook. We're one of the first Express Wi-Fi certified vendors around the world. We cover over 100 villages, growing to over 2,000 hotspots. And to date, we've got over 7 ISPs that have deployed our network in very harsh terrain conditions, sometimes with very high noise, sometimes the terrain is pretty bad. And what we found is our flexibility in being able to do both mesh Wi-Fi networking, as well as the option to switch from mesh to dedicated wireless backhaul, gives you a very robust ability to deploy public Wi-Fi outdoors. So that was kind of a tour of the hardware, the access points, and the Wi-Fi. But at the end of the day, the flexibility really resides in the controller. With cnMaestro, we're introducing API features that will allow you to read data and set data. The first phase of this is going to release shortly with the ability to read the data out of cnMaestro. And then in the second phase, you'll be able to set the data using RESTful APIs into cnMaestro as well. So what that does is gives managed service providers a way in which to create their own login screens and user experience screens, while cnMaestro functions behind those screens, managing the cnPilot Wi-Fi network. One of our biggest features that is shortly coming up is our managed services portal management feature on cnMaestro. This allows you to have a dashboard view of all of your different properties that you're managing as a managed service provider. You can manage, for example, a school, a hotel, or a small business. You can provide multiple logins to the local admin while also retaining control as a super admin across all of your network. So really, the managed services provider feature is built on a foundation of role-based access control and provides data privacy. So no two users can see each other's network unless they're authorized. And it allows you to segment your users, for example, as someone who can set the configuration or someone who can just manage the configuration. And that feature is coming up shortly. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out to us. We'd like to have you on our list of invited beta users.
And Chetan, we do have one question on this. Have you a number of our folks that are in the audience today are wireless internet service providers, WISPs, and the managed service provider is sort of a function that's like that, but is not exactly that. And I know, for example, WebFormix actually performs both roles. Is that common or is it uncommon?
It used to be a little less common in the past, but wireless ISPs and ISPs in general are a perfect candidate to act as a managed service provider because they know how to set up and manage Wi-Fi networks. They are savvy in wireless, and they serve communities that are often underserved in terms of their own ability to have IT management. And so we're seeing a large number of wireless ISPs in particular, and more generally ISPs, especially in Asia, we're seeing carriers and ISPs starting to provide managed services to enterprises. And when they do this with cnMaestro, they can not only manage their network, but also manage a third-party network, as in this example here. And they don't have to switch in and out of their views. It's all in one convenient place where they can keep switching their roles and looking at how the network looks, either from their perspective or the perspective of the tenants that they manage. And so we're seeing a large number of WISPs starting to show interest in this because WISPs are trying to grow their business as well. And they are the perfect candidate to fill that need for someone who's technically savvy, come in and manage the networks, not only just outdoor internet connection, but also go indoors and manage the entire Wi-Fi network.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So if you're an MSP, we've got a foundation of indoor and outdoor access points that are very affordable, with the option to do mesh networking or high SLA backhaul. We've also got the ability to act as a controller. You've got flexible options for the controller as well. And then with features like zero touch and controllerless features, and this is something we haven't really touched on, but in many of our Wi-Fi access points, features like roaming do not require a controller. If there are up to 1,000 clients, the access points autonomously handle roaming. So that makes it very easy for you to set up a network and not have to mandatorily stick in a controller just for getting those features. So that's a very tremendous differentiation that we bring over there. And then with features like multiple admins, alarms, splash page services, and all of these technical features backed by Cambium's support, our very rich channel program, make this a perfect product for MSPs or managed service providers who are looking to grow their business. And then, of course, we're then coming up in October with the ability to brand cnMaestro with your own brand, role-based access control, more reports, audit logs, and APIs. So come end of October, you will have a very rich foundation on which to build your managed services platform. We're not going to talk a lot about this at this point, but shortly thereafter, our next biggest feature is a high availability cnMaestro on-premises controller. So that gives you this, you already have high availability with cnMaestro in the cloud. And now with cnMaestro high availability controller on-premises, you've got all of the same options that the name brand vendors in the past have been charging an arm and a leg. And we intend to bring all of these features at very competitive prices to the market. So please stay tuned for that. We'll go through more detail for that in one of our upcoming webinars. And we just want to end this presentation that all of the hard work that we've put in, all of the faith that our customers have shown in our product when we launched cnPilot is now starting to pay off. We were voted one of the best products by the attendees at the Small Business Show at Anaheim, California recently. So we just want to share that good news. It's a vote, really for us, it's a vote of confidence in all of the hard work that we put in. And we hope to continue to do better in the years to come. And also a little plug for our channel program. It's been voted one of the best channel programs in the world. While I am myself not the expert on our channel program, I do encourage you to get in touch with us and find out how you as a distributor or you as a value-added reseller or a system integrator can stand to grow, create and grow a healthy business with cnPilot access points. So with that said, we'll continue to work on our differentiation of building easy to build, easy to deploy access points, adaptive architecture on a foundation of affordable quality. So with that, Ray, we'll open the platform for more questions.
Yeah, we do have one question that came in, and the observer is very interested in finding out about the speed test from the home router capability. His question is, can you share the timeline on the firmware update that will support the speed test on the home router?
It is on our pipeline. It's been a popular ask where we already have speed test on our enterprise access points. Our most likely timeline is most likely going to be around the December timeframe. We're trying to see if we can speed that up further, but at the moment we're looking to do it before the end of this year.
Great, thank you. Well, those are all the questions that we have today, Chetan. Thank you very much. I found this to be a very good overview of where we are with cnPilot and where we're headed with it. For everybody else, thank you for joining us. We hope you can join us on a future webinar. And just as I say that, Jim has submitted one more question. One question would be about the ATA, and the question is, what voice protocol does the ATA use? Is that SIP or MGCP?
It is a SIP protocol. All of this is based on SIP. It's an open protocol. If you have more questions, we do have user manuals. We also have lots of knowledge-based posting on our forum as well. And if for any reason, if that doesn't answer your question, you're welcome to contact us and we'll answer any further details one-on-one as well. But the answer is it's a SIP-based protocol, works with all popular backend SIP providers.
Great, and Jim says thank you. Andrew posted this question: what codec does the ATA support?
Unfortunately, I can't remember that, but what we'll do, Ray, and what we'll do, Andrew, is I'll get you the answer offline and send you the details. I can't recollect that off the bat.
All righty. Well, thanks very much, Chetan. Everybody, if you do have questions, please submit them on the community. We will be posting the recording of this webinar probably in a few hours. So thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And